Hey y'all, welcome to my channel. Today is Friday, and on Fridays we talk about tips and tricks. So the tips and tricks that we're going to talk about today are related to before you get weight loss surgery. So getting approved for weight loss surgery and kind of what that journey even looks like. So let's just jump right into it. So tip number 1 is deciding if weight loss surgery is right for you. Just because it is a good option, it may not be a good option for you, and that's okay. There's a lot of things to consider. It's definitely important to work with a healthcare professional to see if you physically are ready for a major surgery. Also, it's a mental journey as well. You definitely want to make sure that mentally, you're ready for this journey. So for me, what that looked like was just putting a lot of research into this. It was looking at different YouTube videos and listening to people's journey and their stories, their ups, their downs, so I knew what to expect. It was trying to talk to people that had weight loss surgery. I didn't know anybody personally that had weight loss surgery that I could go to. Like, hey, how did this work? How did this work? I mean, I did, but eventually. Not in the beginning when I was researching. So for me, that looked like different support groups online, using social media support groups, and just seeing other people's experiences and making friends and just, messaging people like, hey, we have similar stories. How did this work out for you? But knowing the things that people went through kind of widened my eyes. Oh man, it's more than just having surgery, healing, eating smaller portions. It's more to that than what I thought. So that was very important for me to realize beforehand because I had no idea. So I definitely say tip number 1, make sure that this journey is right for you. Knowing that you won't be able to eat the same amount of food as you used to. It's a possibility that you might not even be able to eat the foods that you love. And I'm not saying that it's not worth it. I had the surgery and I definitely think that it's worth it. But just knowing what all is entailed in this journey. Okay, so that's tip number 1. Tip number 2, money. Surgery isn't free, so you have to look at if you are insured, what type of insurance coverage do you have. It's really important to check with your insurance company and to see what is the responsibility. How much are they gonna pay? What are you gonna owe out of pocket? Is this something that you're financially ready to do at the moment? There are options. If you're not insured, a lot of offices will work with you. Some might have in-house payment plans. Some might have out-house payment plans Care Credit or something like that. Some people I've seen, they even travel outside the country. I can't say if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but some people do it. Some people have great experience with it, and some find that it's more cost efficient. So there's definitely options. If you are insured, that's what I'm going to speak to because I used my insurance to get my procedure. So for me, this process looked like calling my insurance company and seeing first off, am I covered for this? Do you guys cover these types of procedures? They did. Okay, cool. What type of coverage do you all offer? How much am I going to have to pay up front? And I will also tell you that the insurance, I felt my insurance was pretty good and it covered a good amount, but I still came out of pocket of several $100s to various parties to pay. So I'll come back to that. But checking your insurance coverage, I would say, is my second tip. Or if you're going to self-pay, look to see what kind of options that you have. Just because maybe your insurance doesn't cover it, or you are not insured, or you don't have that great of insurance coverage, or you just don't want to go that way, you definitely have other options. So just do research and check to see what options you have, but just maybe don't give up because your insurance doesn't cover it or it's a little bit more than you think. Definitely ask about payment plans and definitely see if some type of medical financing is right for you, because that may be right for you, but it may not be. But definitely make sure to check all your options. Tip number 3, finding a doctor. Okay. as a Black woman who goes to the doctor a lot, I can definitely say that I have had experiences with doctors that have really left me feeling away. So for me, it's super important to find a doctor that's going to listen to my needs. They're going to hear me, and I feel safe and comfortable. So for me, finding a doctor to do major surgery wasn't just like, going on the internet like, oh, here's a doctor, they're available. It's like, nah, I need to look at these credentials. I need to look at reviews. I need to see what people say about your bedside manner. I need to look how long you've been doing this. Like, yada, yada, yada. Okay, but for me, it's like, I want to make sure I'm in good hands. Of course, you're doing this procedure and you're knowledgeable, but I also want to make sure like I feel comfortable going to your office, going to you. Like, I need to make sure I feel comfortable. So that's my tip number 3. Find a doctor that you feel comfortable with. This is not just like a one-time appointment. You're going to have several visits over the span of years with this office, with this doctor. So you definitely want to make sure it's someone that you feel comfortable with. So for me, I got surgery in an area that I'm new to. So I couldn't get word of mouth referrals because I didn't know anybody here. But I did look at reviews. I actually contacted my insurance company, and my insurance company is great. They gave me a list of places that were in network, and from that list I kind of just looked at reviews, and I found my doctor's office. And this is pretty standard. Most offices, you will have a consultation, of course. So what this consultation looks like could vary, of course, from office to office. My consultation, I sat down one-on-one with the surgeon and we just talked. She asked what my motivation was behind surgery, what I've tried in the past. She explained things clear to me. Before I even went into my consultation, the office made me watch a lot of videos. So videos on what weight loss surgery is, the types of weight loss surgeries that the office offers, and even one that they didn't offer, but they also made you watch that too, just to have an idea of the options that you have. They also made me watch videos on what the process would kind of look like, what the process will look like after. Very basic introductory videos that gave me a lot of knowledge. So when I went into my consultation, I was able to bring my questions like, hey, I watched this, but I have further questions on that. And my surgeon was great. I didn't feel rushed, which for me is like a big thing. I'm used to doctors, patient. So it's like, yep, questions. Okay, we're done. I got to go to the next. But she was very patient with me. She answered all my questions. She made me feel safe. And she even laughed because, you got to laugh and be happy. So, we even had a couple kikis. So I felt very confident and very comfortable with my surgeon. She listened to me, and I am just still 6 months after our first consultation and after my surgery, I feel very confident in the doctor that I picked. So I say that it's very important to find a doctor. Maybe it's more important for me because of my experiences. Maybe you've had your own experiences and that's an important thing for you too. But definitely just consider you're going to be going to this office and this person. This is not like I'll just deal with it and go to this one appointment. This doctor is going to be performing surgery on you. So you definitely want to make sure that you're comfortable with your decision. So that was my initial consultation that I had. So I go back to my tip number 2 about the finances. So my insurance did cover my procedure. I don't know the specifics. Of course, I did have out of pocket that I had to cover. But just to give you an example of just more fees that I had to pay. So my office, whether you were self-pay or insured, you still had to pay a fee up front, and that was for all the patients. So that was a few $100s, and that's not covered by insurance. That's just a fee that the doctor charges for you to start this program. That's your commitment. You sign your contract, you get your materials, they give you some samples and stuff at my office, and that was great for me. So that was a few $100s that I had to pay right there. So that was one visit. My initial visit was in October of 2021. And for my insurance, there's a few requirements that you have to meet. So although this is tip number 3 and this talks about choosing a doctor, I'm going to kind of go back and backtrack to tip number 2 when you're thinking about doing insurance, because these are kind of grouped together. Because if you're self-pay, it might look a little different from you. And if you are going through insurance, it'll look different for you, period, because every insurance plan is different. This is not like industry standard. This is based off your insurance, but it could also be based off your doctor's office too. So for my insurance company, they required a total of 6 months worth of visits to the doctor that were focused on, weight loss, nutrition. So you had to do 6 medical monitor visits. So I started in October. So when I went in for my initial consultation, that counted as 1 visit. So for me, I would go into that same office once a month. I worked hand in hand with the dietitian. So each time I met with the dietitian, which was once monthly, that counted towards my monthly visit. So that was my insurance requirements. Like I said, every insurance company is different. I've seen some people that had 3-month requirements, some that had 6, some that had 9. I've seen some that have 12 required visits. So that means that you have to go into some type of office, at least 3 times, 6 times, 12 times, 12 months. These are monthly visits. You can't just go once every week. These are monthly visits. So that was my insurance company. I started this process, like I said, in 2021. And even when the calendar year changed in 2022, the insurance requirements changed. So they went from 6 months they required me to have to 3 months they required me to have. So just make sure you get in contact with your insurance company if that's the way that you're going, and see what you need to do. Okay, so going back into choosing the office. So it's very important because, like I said, I had to do initially 6 months worth of visits before I could have my procedure. So that means I'm going into this office once a month. It's not just the doctor, but I'm also working with their dietitian. I'm also working with the people in their office. So there were a lot of visits, and I am very thankful because I love my office. It was great. So yes, that is tip number 3. I do have a tip for you. A little trick, I guess. If you need to get so many visits before you can have your surgery or schedule your surgery, if you don't know if you're going to need so many visits to count towards insurance or even to count towards self-pay, one thing I recommend, if you're going to the doctor, talk to your doctors about wanting to lose weight. Talk to your doctors about weight management. If you're going to your primary physician, ask them, to do tests just to make sure like everything's good, like your nutrition, your vitamins, those levels are like good. You don't have any deficiencies. But ask them, like, get that conversation started about your weight, and also ask them to document this on the doctor's recap of your visit, because these visits can go towards your monthly total. So I had my initial consultation in October, then I went for my monthly visit in November. So that's 1, 2. It could be. For me, it turned out to be more like 3, 4. I worked with my gynecologist previously, earlier last year, when I discovered that I had PCOS. I finally was diagnosed with PCOS. I've known that I had PCOS, and that's a whole nother story, trying to work with these doctors. But once I was diagnosed with PCOS, we started working on my weight. So that my doctor made notes in my chart, and I also was referred to a dietitian from my gynecologist. So that counted as 2 visits right there that I had in the past before I started this program. But it met the requirements that the insurance company said with just me trying to work on my weight with a medical professional. So that is my tip. Just make sure, like I said, if you're still deciding, do I want this? Is it right for me? Nothing hurts with just talking to other doctors about, I'm trying to work on managing my weight. What do you have for me? Like, what can you help me with? Okay, great. Make a note of that in my chart. Just a little tip. Okay, I'm back. I just had to fix my lighting because the sun is setting, so the sun rays were just like flowing in here. But yes, so the next thing I want to talk about is requirements. So after I decided, I'm going to get it. This is right for me. I checked with my insurance. They covered it. Cool. I know how I'm going to pay. I found a doctor's office. I'm like, okay, great. I like them. Then we're starting this process now. So there were still requirements that I had to meet, requirements that were set from my doctor's office. So these requirements might look different. Most of them are pretty standard, but of course, every program is going to be different. So maybe you have some of these, maybe you don't. Maybe you have more, maybe you have less. But this is what I went through. So within this time frame, I had to get cleared from a cardiologist. So I had to make sure that I was well and that I was going to be a good candidate for surgery. And, if all wasn't well, what precautions needed to be taken to make sure that I had a good surgery. So there was like some ultrasounds done of my heart, of my legs, checking just to check for like possibility of blood clotting. And we also did stress tests just to see, like how strong my heart was and, some like breathing things to see if you have like asthma or exercise induced asthma, but different things like that. So that was one testing that I had to have. So other than that, I had to get a psych eval. So I met with a psychiatrist, which was a psychiatrist that was partnered with my doctor's office. So I didn't use my own, or I didn't have to go find one. The doctor actually recommended a psychiatrist that accepted my insurance. So this looks different. So I can't say that your experience will be like mine unless you have my psychiatrist, because I've heard all kind of different things when it comes to this psych eval. But my psych eval consisted of 2 different stages. One stage was an interview. So we talked and she was like, yeah, I think you're a good candidate for, surgery. I have some recommendations, but everything I could recommend, you're already doing. So I'm like, great. Then the second part, though, of my psych eval, I had to take a personality test. And it was like, I don't know. It was like a few hours. It was a few hours of just like personality questions, but all was well. I cleared that. So that was the second thing that I had to do. So another thing I had to do was have blood work drawn. I think this is pretty standard. Like they need to make sure that everything is well, or if things aren't well, what things they need to work on. So blood work was drawn. I will say, like when you go, you get blood drawn. Sometimes they may take like 1 vial or maybe 2 little tubes, maybe 3. Okay, they took 10. Not just like, oh, it was a lot, it was 10. So they took a lot of blood because you're getting prepared to have surgery. So they're checking levels of all different things. So that was another test that I had to have done, another requirement that needed to be met. The next thing, I had to go through a group therapy session, which was actually really helpful. It was just one session we were required to go through, and we just kind of talked about, eating disorders, what to expect, the feelings that we were feeling. So it was nice to just be in a room of other people virtually, and they were like saying the things that I was feeling. I'm like, oh, okay, me too, cool. So I had to do that for my program as well. A few other things, an endoscopy had to be performed. So an endoscopy is when you go in, they'll have a little scope. They'll take the scope and send it down your esophagus, down into your stomach, just to get a check, a little peek to see what's going on and see that all is well. So when I had my endoscopy, it was found that I had a hiatal hernia, which was good that my surgeon found because she was able to repair it. So that repair was done the same day that I had my surgery. But that's just an example of what can be found when they're doing that. But they just want to make sure that when they complete this, they can complete this procedure, and that there's no issues going on in your stomach or your esophagus. So that's another thing that I had to have done. And I also had to do some online education. So I mentioned earlier in the video that my office had like some videos like, hey, this is what surgery is. This is what it looks like. This is how we do it. This is what we'll need from you. So they had other videos that were just more in depth, and it just talked more about the surgery, what it looks like that week before surgery, the week after surgery, what the rest of your life's gonna look like, why it's important to walk, why it's important to get your protein in, but just all these videos. So we had to complete all of our education before we could schedule our surgery as well. So I think that was all the requirements that I had to do. Have an endoscopy, do a group therapy session, get a psych eval, have lab work done, and get the testing through the cardiologist. Now, on top of that were my monthly requirements, and that was based off my insurance. So I had to have 6 visits, so I had to meet with the dietitian monthly. Now, in that time, the dietitian worked with me on, things to eat, what to do, what's working, what's not working. So we were low carb, low fat, high protein diet, which is what was recommended. So we just worked on that every month to see how my progress was coming along. And I also had to lose weight. Okay, so once I started this program, I was 373 pounds. I had to lose at least 17 pounds or at least 18 pounds before I could schedule my surgery. So those were the requirements that I had to meet. Like I said, everybody's requirements look different. You might have more, you might have way less. So everybody's is different, but just know that is an option. You might have requirements that you might have to meet. It's not okay, I decided I want this surgery, schedule me for the surgery. It's not. So that was kind of like my road to just getting approved, like kind of where I started and how I got to my doctor's office. Now, I will say, going through this process, your process could be a long process. It's possible if you're looking at just insurance requirements, it might take 12 months. So this could be a long process. Some offices require you to lose a certain amount of weight. You might not lose that weight in a day, in a week, if you don't have any of those like monthly requirements. But whatever the reason is, your journey could be short, but it also could be a little longer. I just say that to say, I think that it's very important that you have a good support system. I know this journey is hard. Not everybody understands why you make the choice to get weight loss surgery. A lot of people say, they get flack, they get all this kind of feedback like, won't you just lose the weight? Why are you taking the easy way out? And all these different things. And it could be hard to share this information with people. You might share it and people might not be 100% willing to support you. Or maybe they do support you, but you still got to hear a lot of like the back talk. It's like those backhand compliments. So I just say be prepared. But I do think having a support system, it goes such a long way. This is a process that is probably new to you. I mean, maybe you knew somebody that went through it, or maybe you're getting a revision. So maybe it's not necessarily new to you, but most likely it probably is new to you. So if you have family or friends, that can like be with you and be understanding, be like a voice of reason or an ear when you need it, or just even be supportive in your new lifestyle, that's great. And if you don't have that, it's nothing wrong with that either. If you are, on social media, there's so many support groups and people that will like be everything you need there. Luckily, I had some support from my family and my friends, the ones that I told. But other than that, I had such a big support system of people online, of just strangers that I didn't know, just various groups of people just willing to help out, willing to give advice, willing to let me message them. So definitely find a support system. I just feel like it goes so far. I don't even know like where I would be post surgery if I didn't have like my surgery twins. I found a bunch of people that had the surgery like the same day as me, or like the week right after me, or the week right before me. And I've been like messaging them, texting them like, hey, did this happen to you? Hey, is this going on? Like, are you feeling this way too? And that has been so great. So like I said, a tip that I have for you, if you don't take any other tips, is just try to build your support system, and don't force it with anyone that doesn't want to be 100% supportive of you. Like, this process is hard enough. Like, you don't need any more stress. So surround yourself with those that are really gonna like be cheering and rooting for you and helping you along this journey. And it goes far. It definitely goes far. If you can't find anybody that's gonna be your support system, you know where to find me. Like, I am here for it. I got you. I got your back. You just let me know and I'm here for you. Okay? And with that, like, knowing that you need a support system, I say that because this ain't easy. And that's my last like little tip I got. Know that this is not easy. I feel like, I don't know, this surgery has such this reputation of being the easy way out, but it ain't easy. It's not easy. I did not eat like solid foods for 30 days. I weighed over 370 pounds. I didn't get that way from not eating food. It's not easy for me not to eat. You know, like, I like my pizza. I like my pasta. I like all the things that I need to eat in moderation, but I did not. Mentally, that wasn't easy. I didn't get here just because I like to eat. Like, I have an eating disorder. And although I've been working with the therapist, I've been working with the psychiatrist, an eating disorder just doesn't go away. It doesn't go away overnight. So knowing that, like, okay, I had most of my stomach taken out of my body, that is not just like, that doesn't just put you in the state to not eat. Like, it is a mentally challenging procedure. And it's a lifestyle change. And it's not just, I got to get through this month or get through these few months. This is a forever change in my life. Not to say it's not worth it, not to discourage you. And everybody doesn't have the same reasonings. Everybody doesn't have my same why. Everybody doesn't have my same struggles. So maybe this process will be super easy for you, and I hope that it is. And I'm not saying that it's so challenging and so hard for me, but it's been rough for me. Mentally, it's been rough. And I still have to get up, operate, go to work, put a smile on, but in the background, I just want a slice of pizza, but I can't have that. So just know that it's not easy. It ain't the easy way out. So don't let anybody tell you that it is, because it is not. You still got to put this work in. You still got to make better decisions. If, you know, you weren't making the best decisions, which got you to making this decision to get surgery, just know there's a lot of work that you have to put into it, a lot of research. You could end up having to go to a lot of visits, so a lot of time, and just a lot to mental strain if you mentally deal with things that I deal with. So yeah, those are all my tips and my tricks that I have for you all. Friday's videos are going to be a little longer, so I'm not even going to apologize for this being long. I hope that you watched it all. I hope I didn't ramble too much. But this is just chill time Friday, and I just want to get real and just, you know, have a conversation with you all. So this one was about getting approved. Please let me know. Leave a comment if you have any questions on the approval process. I tried to make some notes. I made a couple notes, and I tried to go over everything, but I feel like maybe it was a lot more I could have still went over. So if you have any questions, let me know. Leave a comment. I am on Instagram, on TikTok, Sleeved and Awesome. You can send me a message. If you like this video, if you found any of my tips even just a little helpful, could you just give me a thumbs up? If you know somebody going through this journey, please share the video. Please subscribe. I have more content. I have so much that I've went through, and I want to share all of that. If you all have any questions, I want to try to answer the best that I can. But I will be dropping videos on Mondays, on Wednesdays, and on Fridays, frequently with just information all about the gastric sleeve process or just weight loss surgery as a whole. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you. Please don't forget to subscribe.